And is there any debris in the vicinity of the dinghy? Over.
Sounds like a ship is reporting a empty dinghy somewhere in the Dover Straits. There is a huge influx of people seeking asylum. This one appears to be empty.
Cheers, yeah, this is Dover Coast Guard. Roger, sir. Many thanks for the position details and the description. We'll see if we can tie it in with a couple of incidents that we do have ongoing, and we will look to get that river collected. Many thanks and safe watch. Dover Coast Guard out.
The visibility has deteriorated a little bit, and just as we are going past the chicken run, that is the port of Dover. There are up to 120 ferries a day that come in and out of here, so you've just got to pick your speed and go for it. We stay 2 miles off, keep an eye on AIS, and if anyone looks like they're getting near, of course we can slow down or call them on the radio, but it doesn't look like there's too much traffic right now, so hopefully with a bit of luck we'll be able to slide past. It always looks a bit hectic on AIS, and we've got a few ships incoming. The closest point of approach for the passenger ship is 0.8 of a mile, so I don't think we're going to bother him. Hopefully he won't bother us. The days of 24-hour daylight seem like a distant memory. It's nearly 4 o'clock in the afternoon and the light is starting to fade as we approach Essex waters. First time we've been in this spot since 2020, yeah, April 2020. And now we are soon to be approaching the Essex coast. I just can't believe that. And it's just weird to be heading north again, having made all this southing, come around the bottom, and back we go north to Burnham-on-Crouch. Well, actually not Burnham-on-Crouch. I can't resist a night at anchor in the River Roach, one of my little favourites. A little muddy creek, but one that I miss whenever I'm away from it very long. I'm having to get used to seeing 4, 5 and 10 metres under the keel when we've had so many hundreds of metres this year. It's all change, and change is good.
I walked the path, stayed between the lines. I wanted fun, but there wasn't time. I followed the rules, did my best to behave. All I became was a successful slave. If it feels like a trap and you want to be free, then be the change that you want to see. Welcome back on board Altor of Down for episode 17 of season 3, the last of this season. And here we are in the dark, approaching the Essex coast, trying to pick out the faint flashes of the navigational marks as we head towards a cheeky little shortcut.
My friend Giles texted me the waypoints to come through this from the latest Crossing the Thames Estuary guide, and this will save me 10 miles. This is where the bravery comes in, because the waypoint you can see there with the cross is in the very shallow area of the chart, but this sandbank moves a lot and this chart is not up to date and it's not regularly surveyed, so against all my better judgment I have to follow this waypoint off the chart into the shallow water, which is saying there 0.3 of a metre, and then I will turn to the waypoint on the other end of the screen for a hopefully straight run out. It feels so wrong going onto this shallow patch, but it was surveyed earlier this year. I guess I should be prepared for it to be a bit shallower when we come down here. I know it's not correct, but maybe that bank does extend out there a bit still, so we'll just keep an eye. This sharpens the senses after a long day on the water. Just makes the whiskey bigger. Yeah, the bottom's starting to drop away now, so that is a wrap. Now we can pick up the course again and get ourselves into the outer crouch. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I am. That felt like a long trip today, 100 miles, and then a long journey in between the sandbanks into the River Roach, where I'm now anchored. It feels great to be back, but I'm going to have to wait for daylight to see it. But for now, there's only one thing left to do. Cheers. Here's to being back in Essex. So here we are, Essex in the daylight. Some people think these are just muddy creeks, but to me they're home, and it's great to be back. So let's get Altor fired up and make the journey to Burnham Marina, where hopefully my welcoming party will be my mum.
As you can see, the sun is setting, so I spent all day anchored in the River Roach contemplating the glorious season that we had had. Season 3 of Adventure Now had taken us further north than we had ever dreamed of, and yet, in what seems like a blink of an eye, we are back in home waters. Excited to be here, but very sad that such an incredible and life-changing experience has come to a close. For now.
I have no idea how many new horizons we've looked at over that bow, but they've all been extremely special. But I tell you what, seeing my hometown of Burnham-on-Crouch appear feels wonderful. I've often said that when Asha and I adventure north, we feel naughty. We feel like we're stepping into a room where you shouldn't really be. So every once in a while, you need to retreat, come back to the familiar territory and plan the next adventure. And that's certainly what we're going to do.
After a 5,000 nautical mile adventure, we are now closing in on Burnham-on-Crouch Marina, and that gives us the perfect opportunity to look back on what has been the most incredible year of our lives so far. In episode 1, we removed Altor from her 2-year salty soak, gave her a check-up, brush-up and a polish before returning her to where she belongs. And there we weathered the worst of the gales that the Scottish winter could throw at us, safely tucked away behind the sturdy walls of Largs Marina. Then we enjoyed a feisty first sail of the season around to the gorgeous Port of Addy to celebrate a friend's birthday. What a joy it was to be back on the move again. We loved our winter berth in Largs and all of its beautiful surroundings, but in episode 2 we said goodbye to the Firth of Clyde, and without any good weather to take us around the Mull of Kintyre, we opted for the beautiful shortcut that is the Crinan Canal and popped out onto the gorgeous west coast of Scotland, complete with some of our old friends. We took advantage of a favourable forecast and pushed on across the Hebridean Sea for a night arrival into Stornoway. In episode 3, we sat through one gale in Stornoway, and then the favourable weather returned and we jumped on the back of it for a dreamy sail up to one of our favourite places in the world, the Faroe Islands. Once there, we met up with the good ship Leah and her crew, our good friends Ed and Beth. Unusually calm conditions allowed us to explore the caves and then circumnavigate the spectacular island of Hestor. What a day. In episode 4, we experienced some of the feisty Faroese tides before cruising around the north coast and then in to our favourite Faroese town of Fuglafjord. Now I'm fairly sure that it's become very clear that we adore the Faroe Islands, its people and the spectacular topography. But we had dreams to chase, so we left the Faroe Islands in our wake, bound for Norway. Mother Nature pushed us hard, giving us some big seas and some high winds. But Altor just kept on trucking north, and after a fairly tiring 4.5 days at sea, we were treated to our first glimpses of Norway. After 650 miles enduring the roller coaster that is the Norwegian Sea, being tied up safely to the dock in Bodø was quite the relief. Episode 5. With our target this year being Svalbard and possibly the line of 80 degrees north, we were getting our skates on at every opportunity. We were wide-eyed as we passed through picture-perfect Norway, and we couldn't quite believe the scenery that presented itself to us. Progress was brisk and civilised as we pushed on to the North Norwegian town of Tromsø. Episode 6 and 7. What a blur. From the moment we left the Norwegian shores and until our return, life went a little bit nuts. Episode 8. 80 degrees achieved. Time to slow down.
Summertime, summertime, love's in its prime.
Our cruise south
Summertime,
had begun.
summertime, everything's just fine.
We visited the incredible Solstromen with our friends Ben and Hege. Enjoyed magical eternal twilight cruises amongst the islands, heading south. We stopped off to visit a spectacular national park complete with its very own glacier and enjoyed the unspoilt beauty of the Norwegian countryside. It was goodbye to the Arctic Circle in episode 9 after 2 months being in there.
Winter town, blood in the snow. Winter town, release the need to know.
The further south we got, the more the night started drawing in, and before long we set off and found ourselves in our first nighttime sail for many months. We sailed back into the sunlight and then the beautiful town of Bud, followed in episode 10 by the spectacular city of Ålesund. After Ålesund, we stumbled across the cute harbour and isolated village of Honningsvåg. After a truly magnificent time exploring the gorgeous Norwegian coast, we left, headed west, and made landfall in Lerwick on the Shetland Islands. Episode 11. The Shetland Islands are a hidden jewel and we must return.
Spring will come, with squirrels on the run. Lots of fun, sit in the sun, another one will surely come. Who are you counting on?
We were counting on the universe, and the universe delivered yet another beautiful sail back into the lovely town of Stornoway. There we relaxed, wound down, and truly started to appreciate the amazing journey we'd had so far, and I got a little excited about a can opener. I'll raise a glass to anything. Then, escorted by some of our favourite friends, we had a dreamy sail back down the Hebridean Sea in a gorgeous sunset before arriving into colourful Tobermory for episode 12. There we met up with our mate Jim, who has started the new business venture called Tobymory with his mate and business partner Tommy, who gave us the guided tour. And lastly, we met the ever so slightly reckless Tobermory cat. We had beautiful weather in the spring sailing up the west coast of Scotland, and now sailing down in the autumn season, it was equally as beautiful. We came into Kerrera Marina, where we met our good friends and inspirational sailors Mike and Helen after their season in Greenland.
I was lost in the woods under dust, and the ferries found me.
For episode 13, we found ourselves back in the Crinan Canal.
They led the way, they cleared the way to my home.
I think if we could start and finish every season with the Crinan Canal, we'd be very happy indeed. I don't think it would be possible to ever tire of this beautiful shortcut. One gentle sail down Loch Fyne with one overnight stop in an anchorage, and here we are coming back into Largs Marina. 4,222 miles beneath the keel this year, and yet this girl, who I'm very proud of, still hesitates to call herself a sailor. Episode 14, sailing from Scotland into Northern Ireland, where I bought Altor of Down in 2018. It was great to be back in this town and to meet up with Rosamond, who owned Altor for some 18 years before she came to me.
I had fallen head first into love with another complete stranger.
A beautiful sail by moonlight found us in the town of Wicklow. Episode 15, and I didn't want to, but we are visitors, so we must be polite to our hosts. A night motor across from Ireland found us being polite in the early hours of the morning in Milford Haven. And there we waited while the winter gales came through and held us captive for 3 weeks before we finally made a blustery trip across the Bristol Channel. Around Land's End we went and into Falmouth, where of course we were polite again. Episode 16, and Asha leaves the ship. I'm probably going to have to drink to get through this. My first single-handed sailing for 3 years saw me swept briskly along the south coast by a lovely southwesterly breeze. 220 miles later, Beachy Head came into view, and around the corner was the safety of Eastbourne Marina, where I can't remember if it all got a bit too much for me or I was being polite, but, you know, whatever. And there we are, we're up to date. All that's left is to drive into Burnham Marina and to say thank you so much for watching and therefore being part of this adventure. Sincerely, thank you.
I don't dare to think about what I would have been without them.
Hello, Mum. How are you?
Oh, thank
Good. I'll see you down there.
to magic for rescuing me.
It doesn't matter how old you get, man or boy, everyone likes to come home and see his mum. And here I am in Burnham-on-Crouch on Altor of Down with my mum, who welcomed me into the pontoon. So I would just like to say thank you to my mum and also to my dad, who is sailing a super yacht in the sky somewhere, for sowing the seed of sailing. It has changed my life and made it incredible. Cheers, Mum.
Cheers, Mark.
Adventure now.
Adventure now.
Beautiful sunny day in Burnham-on-Crouch and a very orderly ship because Asha has returned and cracked the whip. Welcome back, Asha.
Thank you so much. But I'm actually not cracking the whip. I'm just so happy to be back because I was really unhappy to leave Mark and Altor and go to Poland and miss out on the last day of the season along the south coast.
Yeah, we survived just about without Asha, but it's good to have you back on board. It's now February, we are wintering well and discussing our plans for season 4, and those plans are
North, which I'm very happy to say. We're gonna go back to the Faroe Islands, circumnavigate Iceland, and hopefully we're gonna sail for the first time to Greenland.
Yeah, we've got a bit of research to do. We'll lean on our good friends Helen and Mike for some advice, but they are our plans for season 4. So in the meantime, I think we just want to say a really big thank you for watching, don't we? I mean, these videos aren't anything without people watching them, so we really appreciate that.
Yes, heartfelt thank you so much.
And for now, I guess we'll winter for a while, and we'll see you in the springtime.
Yes, in season 4. And until then, Altor out.
Oh, thanks. That's me totally redundant then, isn't it?